Mr. Hockenberry, where did you grow up?
Oh wow, great question, Nick. That's a great question for the Talk with Hawk series. I grew up in a very tiny little town in northeastern Ohio. The name of the town is called Malvern, and it is about 10 minutes away from a bigger city called Canton, Ohio, which is where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is. So I was born in Malvern, Ohio, and I grew up there.
Very interesting. What do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, when I'm not being with Three Rivers people and families and partners and working for Three Rivers, I love to travel. I love to go to cities all around the United States and take my children to those cities and take pictures and build memories and things like that. So traveling's my favorite thing to do in my free time.
What has been your most difficult challenge since becoming superintendent?
Wow, the most difficult challenge. You know, being a superintendent is pretty busy work. So my day usually starts off really early and it ends late at night. So my biggest challenge has been to try to find time for my great family and to find time for my new family at Three Rivers. So trying to balance that and do both is been a very big challenge, but fun. We're working it out.
What are some of the major differences in elementary school from the time you were a student until now?
Wow, that's a good question, Nick. I would say the biggest difference is technology. When Mr. Hockenberry was in elementary school, like, we wrote everything by hand. We didn't have any technology devices. I think we had typewriters. Like, we didn't have iPhones, iPads, computers, or anything, and we didn't have access to the information that elementary students have now. That's a very, very big difference. And I would say the other big difference was we didn't have all the testing that you guys have now. We took a test once at the beginning of the year and once at the end of the year, and that was it. So that's two of the big differences that I see.
Do you feel like you're under a lot of pressure when deciding whether school should be delayed or closed due to weather?
Do you know, there is pressure involved, Nick, but I'll tell you this much. I always go back to making sure that everybody's safe. So usually if I use that guide, there's really no pressure. So I just ask myself, would I want my kids out in bad snow and in bad weather standing at bus stops, on a very cold morning? The answer is usually no. So then it makes it easy to make that decision. What makes it complicated, though, is that we have all this weather data, and sometimes it's not always right. So we may use the data to call school off, and then the storm never happens. So that's what puts a little pressure on. So those are really good questions. Let me ask you, did you do those yourself?
Yes.
Very good, Nick. Good job.
What do you like about the school the most?
Oh, wow. I like the people that are in the school. The school's beautiful and everything, but if everybody was mean here and people didn't want to do good, then this wouldn't be a very happy place. So what's making this place such a great place are the teachers, the leaders in the district, and people that care about kids, and then obviously making the environment such a special place for kids. So that's what I like the best about it.
What changes do you want to make to this school, if you want to make any changes?
Oh my, I have two very important changes that I'm making right now. Is number one, what grade are you guys are in? Fifth grade, right? So it's going to impact you guys because you'll be sixth graders next year. We have a big building that has like 2,500 kids in it, and I'm a big believer in making things smaller when you're dealing with children and when you're dealing with kids. So what I want to do is create a preschool to fourth grade school, all right, like an elementary school, and I want to do a 5th through 8th grade school, Three Rivers Middle School, and then I want to keep the high school, Taylor High School. So for next year, if everything works out the way we hope, you'll have your very own principal, your very own counselor, your own pep rallies, your own assemblies, your own field trips, and everything. You'll have your very own school, grades 5 through 8. That's a very big one. And then the other big thing is I posted a position, a very important position for our school district that is going to focus just on curriculum and instruction. So we're going to have somebody that we can rely on that just focuses on the most important thing that we do, which is instruction.
What do you think makes you different from the last superintendent?
Well, a lot of things. Dr. Bohannon was much prettier than me. And I think what makes us different is that Dr. Bohannon was very, very, very good at all the little tiny details. And if you weren't good at those things, you would have never had this beautiful building, because she was able to put all the pieces together, and she had a very big vision to bring everybody together, which I thought was great. I think one of my strengths and things that made me a little bit different from her is that I spend a lot of time working on resources and community involvement and engagement and being out in the community. And she spent a lot of time working on a lot of the details, which were both very, very important, but very different. Good questions, Monica. Did you come up with these yourself too?
Well, my parents helped, but mostly.
Very good.
Why does the cafeteria serve elementary kids different food than the high school kids?
Good question. Elementary and high school kids have different nutritional standards that have to be met. So therefore, they have to have a different menu at times. And they also get a different portion size, because high school kids are bigger, and they have to have a certain amount that's different. So that's why there's always differences in the menus. Good questions.
Oh.
Lena, right?
Yeah.
All right, Lena. I have a meeting with your mom today. Do you know that?
Yeah.
So you better do good, or I'm gonna tell her.
What do you plan to do about the bullying in our school district?
Yeah. Bullying is a very big problem around the United States, and it's not what I'm going to do, it's what you guys have to do. So spread the word. When you see bullying going on in our school district, in your classroom, at the lunchroom, on the playground, anywhere, you need to make sure that you stop it. And you tell adults, and you make sure that you guys are the heroes and the champions for bullying. The superintendent only gets a little bit of information about bullying. A lot of you guys see it firsthand. So when you see bullying going on, you need to stop it. Don't let anybody pick on anybody, and don't let anybody intimidate anybody. And if they are, you make sure you get to an adult and let them know, so we can redirect that behavior.
Have you ever been a teacher? If so, what subject?
Yeah, can you believe this? 5th grade. 5th and 6th grade reading and social studies. And it was 21 years ago actually, is when I started teaching. And I only taught for a couple years, and then I became an assistant principal. So, but I enjoyed my time as a teacher in a very unique place called Roosevelt School.
Was superintendent your first job choice?
It wasn't my first. My first was teacher, then it was assistant principal, then I couldn't wait to be a principal. And then after I was a principal for a while, it was my first choice. I couldn't wait to be a superintendent.
How do you think the new building has improved our community?
Well, you know what? We're still working on that. We're still working on it, because you got to remember, when we closed all the buildings, we took kids from Addiston, North Bend, Cleves, and Miami Heights area, and brought them all together. So we're still working on that piece and try to make everybody learn and get along and understand everybody's needs. So we're still working on it, but I think it's going to be good. Each day it's getting better and better.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job, everybody. I enjoyed this.